Okay, so I'm going to try this in a different way. Here's what we got going on. Earlier I posted the pencil test for the current shot, and that's actually the shot I was working on right there. So I did ink it, and as you can see, gave it right here a little bit of magical sparkle stuff, which I think transitioned well into this. Kind of interesting, my son watched the shot, and he said that even though Akari's arm was just, as you can see, it's just going up and down and up and down, he said after he watched it, what he felt like was that her arm was swirling all over the place. So that's what the effect sort of does for you. So that's cool. That worked out well. So now what I'm going to do is just play this video, which is a speed paint of the ink and paint process. So what I did was I just took each of the key points in the in her character from the first pose to I guess it'd be the fourth pose, because there were two in betweens, and I drew a bunch of red dots to track like her eyes, her chin, the outside edge of her cheek, that sort of thing. And then I basically put the arm motion on a completely separate layer, and so what you're seeing here is just the once I had blocked in the pencil test, which is covered in the previous video, obviously, then it was just time to do ink and paint. So pretty straightforward. So strategically speaking, what I did was I did what I call working from the known to the unknown. So little contours, or like those hairs on her forehead, stuff that I knew for sure where it needed to go, I'd get that drawn in first, and then connect it up, connect the dots, so to speak, by filling in the stuff that wasn't necessarily as clear in terms of where things needed to go. So yeah, there I see him working with her pigtails, which they've been kind of my nemesis. I seem to always forget to draw her pigtails. So now I should probably mention, I mean, it's good that you can see we're being focused on the main part of what's being drawn here. Unfortunately, when I turned this into a speed paint, it looks like when I used Hit Film Express for that, and when Hit Film Express scales video, it doesn't scale it. I just realized this, and I did this one time before a couple months ago, and I had just forgotten about this. So I was using Hit Film Express to speed up the video. Well, when it speeds up when it outputs 1280 by 720, which is broadcast HD, it actually takes the existing video and crops it. It doesn't scale it. Now, to me, that seems pretty dumb. Kind of hard to believe that would be its default behavior, but it looks like it is. So that's why this video looks a little strange, sort of cropped in. So one thing I did unusual on this shot was I did a lot of the inking in what's called behind mode. So when you're in Krita, that gives you the ability to paint an area, and if there's any lines that are already there, it'll only fill in behind what's already painted there, which is kind of good, because then when most of the stuff is painted in, you can take the paintbrush and just blast over it, and it'll only fill in areas that currently are transparent, that currently have nothing there. So mainly it was just this back and forth of tightening up the ink and paint, and then here we're dealing with the highlights and sort of tracking them across the keyframes to make sure they animate okay. Blah blah blah. Yeah, and as you can see, I think that the end result worked pretty well. I mean, the animation of her turning her head was pretty successful, and I'm glad for how it turned out, because it was a bit of an experiment, since I was taking a front pose right there to that side pose there, and there were some slight differences. I mean, it was a pretty good likeness from one to the other, but it wasn't, I wouldn't say absolutely perfect. As you can see, what I did right there was I just basically blocked in the volume of her arm for the keyframes, and then I figured I'll just be able to ink over them. I believe as you can see there, her hand is too small, so I kind of corrected that in a hurry. So, but each of these keys are only on the screen for 2 frames. Well, let me see. It might have been on 3s. No, I think it was on 3s, and then I switched it to 2s actually, because it felt better. So, but when it plays back, it's pretty smooth. So here I was just doing a little bit of a patch job in Krita, where I was doing stuff in one layer right here that would overlay everything, and then basically just baked it down by hitting Control E to merge the layers. And then of course we had to have a shadow layer, so it was a bit of a I just decided to put that, as you can see here, on a separate layer, rather than it would be a bit silly to try to do it the purest anime way, which would be to actually paint in all the shadow areas, with different colors, as opposed to just a shadow layer over top. So far, I have not seen too many situations where adding a semi-transparent black layer for shadows doesn't prove to be by far the best technique. So like I said, I didn't actually know this would turn out as well as it did. The putting that little bit of sparkle there, and I'm just going to go ahead and transition away from this now. There's the shot here coming up. But rather than watch it here, we'll just come back to this. So ultimately, these 2 shots, what I was surprised how well it worked was how that yellow sparkly stuff right here plants a seed in the viewer's mind to where the stuff that comes in the next shot makes all the sense in the world. It's like a continuation. I actually did not expect that continuity to take place, so I'm quite pleased with how it came out. And with that, my friends, that is it. And as you guys know, there will be more later.